In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about groups versus calendars. So there is another video that's called How to Categorize Athletes. And this one, we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about the groups versus calendar function. So here's the calendar column. Here's the groups column and manage users. An athlete can only belong to one calendar at a time. So as you should know, calendars is where we write our training programs. So calendars are often named after sport-specific training. They're named after different types of programming like hypertrophy, power, strength, so on, in-season, off-season. So anyway, again, athletes can only belong to one calendar at a time, whether it's a parent calendar or a sub-calendar. Now, here's the thing. The example I like to use is, imagine you have a team and you divide the team into groups for programming purposes based on their strength proficiency or their movement proficiency, some sort of criteria, right? Okay, so the team is divided, and they're divided presumably into calendars based on different kinds of training programs to address their training needs. Now, that team, though, is still a team, and you would like the ability, presumably, to run a leaderboard or run a report or message the team. And that's where groups come into play. So a grouping is basically a tag. That's what I like to say. A group is a tag. So you can tag your athletes by the sport or team that they belong to. You can tag them by position group. You can tag them by their age, such as class. Or you can use a variety of different tags. And you can apply multiple tags to different athletes. So that's really the benefit. Now, if I create a group, I just come to this group tab on the left. And you can see that I've got groups, but I also have a setting within each group. If I add a new group down here at the bottom right, it's going to ask me to create a name. So in this case, I'll say Group A. And then it's going to ask me what kind of availability for features I want for that group. If you want to be able to message the group, or if you want the group to message each other, or if you want the group to share a team feed, then leave this box checked on. If you do not, check it off. If you want the ability to generate leaderboards for the group, check this box. If not, check it off. And then for reporting, if you want the ability to run reports on the group, then you leave this checked. Or if you don't want anyone to run reports on the group, then don't check it. So in this case, I'll keep it checked. So when you're looking at this setting here, if you put people in this group, the only ability you have is to run reports by the group. And that's a coach function. So any athlete or person added to this group will not know they're added to it. There's no social functionality to it. If you do check these boxes, then there is a social functionality, and then everyone will know they're in that group. It will show up as a filter on their mobile app. So that's a little insight into groups. Also, the one last advanced thing I will say about groups is that if you want to be able to grant a coach access to multiple one or more individual calendars, right? So say that you have a coach and the coach has no business messing around with any calendars here that you program on, but you do want that coach to have access to a few individual calendars. What you can do is you can create a group for those individual athletes. And when you create that group for those individual athletes, you want to make sure that you do not allow messaging or leaderboard or reporting. But what happens is that when you add a coach, you can say add a coach, and under the group access, you can give access to a selected group for those athletes. And then you want to leave this box checked on, which says allow access to assigned athlete level calendars, which means that the group will determine which athletes that coach has access to as far as their calendars. But you can disable calendar access to all calendar groups, so they cannot program for any groups as a whole, but they can just modify training programs for individuals that belong to the specific group that you granted them access to. So that's a little bit about the difference between groups and calendars. We really got in the weeds there at the end. But again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us directly and we can walk through this in person as well.